Schoolboy when the British establishment crushed the rebellious spirit of Oscar Wilde in 1895, Bell lived his life in the service of a Wildean creed of sexual and personal freedom, and disdained the notion that art must serve any purpose other than an aesthetic one. Bell was a faithful evangelist for modern art, prescient in his emphasis on the collaborative nature of perception, and scathing about the habit of the wealthy to acquire works of art not because they like them, but because they bestow prestige. He was thoroughly cosmopolitan, and therefore suspect in the opinion of those who adhere to that persistent deep strain of antipathy in England towards anything from across the Channel. His friends often remarked that what was most memorable about being in Bell's company was his conversation, but any traces of it which remain in letters or diaries are now so faded as to be hardly visible. As Virginia Woolf wrote, even the most interesting and important talk is as elusive as smoke. This biography depends entirely upon an incomplete written record, and who can say what has been lost in the course of more than a century that witnessed the two most destructive wars in all of human history. Bell seems to have kept every note, card, or letter he ever received, but those he sent to others have not often found such dogged hoarders. I have refrained from speculation or invention, and tried to strike a reasonable balance between Hilary Spurling's admonition to biographers to leave no stone unturned, and above all to turn stones over where no one has looked before, and Henry James's acknowledgment that relations stop nowhere, and the exquisite problem of the artist is eternally but to draw the circle within which they shall happily appear to do so. Unlike so many of his celebrated peers, Clive Bell left no reflections of his own life. Even in Old Friends, the memoir he created largely by reprinting articles he had written about other people, he is most visible as an expansive host, a gregarious pleasure-seeker whose greatest enjoyment derived from sharing with others his loves, his company, his table, his tastes, and above all, what he felt when he looked at a Cézanne, a Picasso, an early Derain, a Passmore, a Hitchens, or a Grant. A year after Bell's death, the critic Herbert Reed wrote a suitable epitaph. "I prefer to remember him as an officer in the kingdom of the mind, not caring too much for discipline, encouraging insubordination, eager to share his riches with anyone who would knock at his door." Like Kant, Bell believed that the potential for responding to art with a peculiar emotion is an important aspect of what makes us human. He was the right man in the right place at a momentous time in the history of art. This biography allows Bell to step out of the shadow cast by Bloomsbury, although it acknowledges that, as Christopher Reid has explained, the group continues to stand for something that threatens established beliefs, and Clive Bell was very much part of that. Part 1. Becoming Clive, 1881 to 1907. 1. Beginnings. Arthur Clive Heward Bell ended a letter to his 8-year-old sister Dorothy with a cartoon of a man holding a whip towards whom a fox is running. Mr. R. B. S. in trouble again. The 14-year-old Marlborough schoolboy captioned his drawing. Mr. B., having been unhorsed early in the run, tries to get home by a short-cut, trusting that his horse will turn up sometime. On his way home, he has a somewhat embarrassing meeting with the hunted fox. Bell was introduced early to a world of guns, hunting dogs, and game. The third child in his family, he was born on the 16th of September 1881 in East Shefford, Berkshire. 2 years later, his father, William Heward Bell, bought a property in the village of Seend in Wiltshire, but promptly had much of the house pulled down to rebuild it on a grander scale over the next decade. Cleeve House was strewn with copies of The Field, the Livestock Journal, and Punch. Snapshots of ponies and dogs filled entire albums, and, overlooking the great hall, a gigantic moose.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.